Hey there, Uniwarriors! EnnuiGoblin here, once again ready to bring to you the latest in Uniwar action. Now, just a couple of things before we get started today. I do want to apologize for the lack of videos in the last couple of days. I'm just now getting over a bout with the flu, and my voice has been just such... You might even be able to hear it a little bit right now. My voice has been messed up all week. This is the first time in a couple of days that my voice hasn't sounded like a frog with throat cancer. So now my voice is back on track, so I am going to try and put out these videos a little bit more frequently. Another thing that I want to mention real quick before we get started is I've been noticing a lot of people have been emailing me or asking me on the chat, hey, do you need any more videos? Would you like me to send you a video? So let me just say this right now. I always want you guys to send me your videos, okay? There's the answer to that question will never be no, I don't want your video. The only thing is you have to, if you do send me a video, you have to be patient. I'm not sure if I can get, I'm reaching that point where I can't really get to every single video that's sent to me. But, I mean, I still want the new videos to be sent in because I'm going to try and post. I'm going to have to start cherry picking the best ones, but please send the videos to me anyways. Also, make sure that you go over my forum post on how to properly set up the videos so that I can play them and optimize them on the YouTube channel. There'll be a link to that post down in the description area below. But please do send me your videos, but have patience and don't feel offended if I don't get to your video. Just, you know, I'm doing all this by myself. These videos take me a long time to make, so please have patience, okay? So, with that out of the way, as promised, we're going to be moving on into Game 2 of the June Final Championship match rounds between uniKZ and Fobos. Now, last time we did see Fobos playing as the Krallians, and we saw uniKZ playing as the Titan players. In the mirrored match here now, we are going to see the opposite races for each player. Last match, Fobos managed to pull off a win in 18 rounds. So in order for uniKZ to take this title championship, he's going to have to take a win within 17 rounds. It's not going to be an easy feat. Now, he's got a couple of things going for him. Do remember, like I said last time on this map, once again, is called Bogus Sandwich. This map is really a Krallian favored map, just by virtue of the low income cost. Remember, it's 125 credits per base, so it's a maximum of 375 after all three bases have been captured. The map is like it's quasi open, but it's really favored for the mobility of the Krallian player. The Krallian player can press on the Titan player a lot better because there's a lot more options for him. So because of that, uniKZ is going to have to take that advantage and press it as hard as he can because he's going to have to take that 17-round win in order to take this tournament. So, let's move on. In the left-hand side of the map, playing as the Blue Krallians, is none other than uniKZ, and his opponent, playing on the right-hand side as the Red Titans, is Fobos. So looking at this, let's get the game started here. We're going to see uniKZ pushing up his underling to get that first base capture. And we're going to see a double Ling opening here. That's not a bad position. I think the Ling opening right now is the reasonable one to go against, especially since we're going to see, as we do see speeders coming up onto the map for Fobos, Lings are going to be a pretty effective counter on a closed map like this with so many trees and mountains to hide on top of. These speeders are now going to try and push up into the center and try to keep Fobos not wanting those Lings to get an early game center hold. We do see a Pinzer coming up on the map, and that pincher is going to be very effective as providing cover for the weaker units in the back. Swarmer and Underling coming up behind him. These speeders now being weary of that advantage that the pincher gives positionally, moving up towards the top side of the map, hiding behind a plasma tank. A second Swarmer coming up on these boards. These Swarmers kind of like basically using that pincer to move forward as the Swarmers kind of move in behind, ready to do damage from behind the pincer. The pincer now moving back, not wanting to engage directly with that plasma tank right away. We see the buried Ling here ready to do any surprise attacks on units that want to get into that hill tile on the center. The plasma tank now moving forward, recognizing that the plasma tank is a little stronger than the pincer. The speeders behind have a lot of ability to do finishing power on any units that get damaged by the plasma tank. The pincer once again taking a step away from that plasma, just kind of counter move between the two players here. These Swarmers continuing to just kind of circle around behind the pincer. A worm now coming up on the board for uniKZ, and I love the fact that the worm has come up here on turn 6. The worm is that's a positionally important. The worm is coming up on the bottom left-hand side of the corner, which is interesting instead of the top right, instead of the top left base. Now, this is great because it's going to force Phobos to kind of say, well, now a worm has come on the board. Do I want to have to go for a walker a little earlier than I thought? Maybe Phobos was thinking I'd prefer to go for a walker like turn 8, turn 9, turn 10. Now that the worm is coming up on the board, there's going to have to be pressure for Phobos to bring that artillery out a little bit more comfortable, a little bit earlier than he'd be comfortable doing considering the cost of the walker. And it means that it would force Phobos to be in a position where, do I want to sacrifice putting out another unit so that I get an early walker out? Or would I rather wait and risk letting that worm get an early advance push and then bring the walker out a little later? So let's see how that plays out here. We do see an assimilator coming up on the board. The assimilator is going to put a lot of pressure for uniKZ here, just because, I mean, that's an interesting decision. I think the assimilator is going to give Phobos a chance. Instead of bringing out a speeder, he's bringing out the assimilator, which is going to give Phobos a chance to bring out that 750 walker the next turn. And also, these speeders are going to have the ability to kind of dart into the center, do damage, and then dart back where the assimilator can quickly heal them. Plus, the assimilator's got the UV, so it's not a terrible decision. On the other hand, I mean, it can't really do any damage, and it's kind of makes Phobos in a position where I don't have as many units to effectively do damage. However, there's buried lings here, there's that pinzer here, and having damage-dealing units is going to be a pretty valuable asset as well. So let's see how this continues. These speeders now opting to move down towards the bottom portion of the map, not wanting to engage with those swarmers up at the top. Swarmers now trying to press their advantage. Now that the walker's up, they can be a little bit more damaging, a little bit more daring, making that V formation in front of the walker, in front of the worm here. We're going to see these speeders are once again just kind of moving from one side of the map, just kind of darting forward, darting back, trying to look for weaknesses, probing to make sure that none of the center advantage goes too heavily to the Krallian player, although the center advantage is starting to manifest itself pretty well. Walker is up on the board, though, and the Walker is going to present a lot of zone control on that artillery, and now uniKZ is going to have to be very careful about each position of his units to make sure that they stay out of that range. That Walker moving up into the bottom portion, the center right portion of the map, putting a lot of pressure on those center units, and it's going to push back a lot of these units. And if we think about, I just want to point this out. Now, here's the problem for uniKZ here. If this was just a standard ranked match, I don't think that Walker would be as big a problem for him. In fact, it actually would be a pretty weak move for Phobos to bring a Walker out if this was a standard match. But the real advantage of that Walker is the virtue of the fact that, because in a normal map, uniKZ could see that Walker and say, you know what, I'm going to push back, I'm going to just continue to build my units, and then when I push forward, I can deal with the Walker with buried lings, and then have my swarmers and my worm kind of continue to do damage and dissolve that speeder line, and then eventually I'll get my positional advantage, and then I'll overwhelm him. But here we are on turn 9, and uniKZ only has 11 rounds remaining in this match to take a win. So the Walker, by pushing back the Krallian units, is buying Phobos time rather than buying him power and position. That's the real key element here. And so uniKZ, he doesn't really have the luxury to kind of sit back and wait and say, okay, well, is Phobos going to wait for Phobos to kind of make a positional error or to gain a positional advantage? He's going to have to press his attack fairly soon. I'd say in like the next 4 to 5 rounds, uniKZ is going to be out of options, and no matter what position he's in, he's going to have to press forward to his attack. And so that Walker is going to put the uniKZ kind of in the position where he might have to press his attack. You know, he might have to delay his attack a turn or two more than he really wanted to, and each turn at this point is going to be of critical importance for this game. So uniKZ, bringing out more swarmers, pushing out those buried lings, going to try and counter against that Walker with those buried lings as much as he can, pushing back all of his swarmers, kind of letting that worm sit up at the forefront in the center of the map, kind of keeping those speeders from wanting to move to the center too quickly. Another assimilator kind of moving around on the map here, offering a lot of healing and UV potential for the Titan player. These speeders now taking a lot of control in the center, although they are hiding behind the plasma tank, so I guess they're actually not that exposed. None of them are on the swamp tile, so it's not a big deal. These swarmers now moving, starting to make their press forward. uniKZ increasing his surface area of potential attack. The worm darting back, and it looks like uniKZ's decided he's going to want to make his push on the top portion of the map rather than the bottom portion, where a lot of the where there's not as much mechanized units ready to defend against a push. The speeder now going to take a 5-shot against that swarmer. A second speeder going to bring that swarmer down, and those swarmers are very valuable at this moment. Each swarmer that's going to go down is a second one going to go down this turn. I think that other swarmer is going to go down to another 10-shot speeder, and this is a very good attack by Fobos here. Because here, well, let's watch where he brings that last speeder back first before I kind of pause the play. So that last speeder bringing up on the health tile, and this is a successful attack by Fobos because it does give him a 500 credit advantage on turn 10 here. And although that credit advantage doesn't mean as much to a Krallian versus a Titan on a map like this, you have to consider there's only 8 rounds left for uniKZ to pull a win here. And losing 2 Swarmers when he was just about getting to the point where he wanted to push it to attack is going to be a really difficult obstacle to work around. And not to mention that 7 speeder is in the back behind that mountain tile where it's harder for uniKZ to get to. These other 2, and now I mean, like, the damage that was done retaliation to these speeders wasn't as heavy enough to press a major advantage. I think some of these speeders can go down next turn if uniKZ puts the right positioning, but losing those swarmers is a big deal on turn 10 because he kind of needed those to really press his advantage and make a successful push against the Titan player before the time runs out too quickly. However, that being said, there are still a good number of swarmers. There's 5 swarmers still on the board. It's just that those 2 swarmers that went out were in a really optimal position to make a push. So it's not by virtue of losing so many units that it's going to be tactically disadvantageous so much as it's going to be disadvantageous in terms of time management on this game. Moving forward, Speeder now going to take a 7-shot at that underling up at the top, and these lings are very valuable because later on in the end game, these lings are going to be a very important asset in making those base captures in the last couple of turns. And if too many lings go down on the center of the map, uniKZ can bring more lings up in the back, but it's going to take time for them to push up to those bases where they can threaten base captures later on. We do see these swarmers now getting their opportunity to take a shot and do some retaliation damage. A swarmer now going to take a 3-shot at this speeder up on the health tile. uniKZ not wanting to let that speeder get a good heal off on that health tile where it can where you can do damage that's insignificant. The speeder will go down on that tile. We're going to see a 3-shot from the worm onto that plasma tank in the center of the map. Another 2-shot from a buried ling on that, bringing that tank down to a 5. Is that tank going to go down this turn? The pins are now going to take another 3-shot at that tank. That tank left at 2, and I think that tank will go down from that swarmer, and that tank is going to leave a lot of open position on Fobos. Fobos now going to have to be very careful about where he positions his walkers and his assimilators, which have been left very exposed without the tank to hide behind them. And that's a good attack from uniKZ, evening up the credit deficit, and we are going to see a 3-shot come down from the walker, but that 3-shot is just not as effective without the plasma tank to continue the assault. We are going to see these speeders chipping away. Is that Pinzer going to go down this turn? I think it actually might. The Pinzer is going down, and now they've traded their heavy defense units here, and I think that's going to even it up for Phobos a little bit more. We do see another underling going down, and these speeders are doing a very good job of finishing up damage against units. Another underling going down against that speeder. These speeders are just, Phobos doing a great job of using those speeders as finishing units instead of initial damage dealing units. And we're going to see Phobos here, and I just want to pause this and take a look positionally on the map. So I think the credit count has once again been pulled slightly into Phobos' favor by about 300 to 400 credits. The walker here, once again, is very well protected with that eclipse and those speeders surrounding it. I don't think that uniKZ is going to be able to get any shots. He does have some buried lings on the map, but they've got a little bit of distance to go before they can really threaten that walker. And uniKZ, seeing that he's got the center controlled a little bit better than uniKZ, is opting, instead of to go for more speeders or to go for another plasma tank, is opting to bring out mechas onto the board. And I like this decision from Phobos because those mechas can kind of port, and they're not going to be very useful in terms of like dealing damage against what's on the board for uniKZ. Like once again, this is the difference between standard ranked play and tournament play. Is just these mechas are going to be useful not so much for dealing damage against the Krallian player, but for stalling the push from the Krallian player. There's only 6 turns left for uniKZ to pull a win on the title here, and these mechas are going to be very good at putting in and kind of like putting uniKZ in a position where I'm not necessarily losing the match, but I am losing on time. And that's the distinction you really have to make here with a match like this. uniKZ now gonna try and take out that speeder on the healing tile once again, not wanting to let it get a good heal out. That speeder on the healing tile will go down. Another speeder on the healing tile is going to go down. 2 more speeders taken away, and the center position from Fobos is once again weakened considerably by this push from uniKZ. uniKZ putting up full health from the back, and that speeder is going to go down from that swarmer. 3 speeders down, and then a 4th shot on the walker. That's a huge push in uniKZ's favor. Bringing the walker's ability to reduce artillery damage is going to be huge for uniKZ to continue his push forward. And I think that is going to really weaken Phobos's advantage here. And where are we? Okay, so the Eclipse now moving back, going to be putting a lot of damage on these, but also taking, it is going to be able to weaken a lot of these Swarmers positions, but it's taking 2 damage every time it does, and each time that Eclipse attacks a Swarmer, it gets weaker on its ability to do it the next time. And I think uniKZ, he can handle losing a Swarmer at this turn. I don't know if he could handle losing 2 or 3, but I think losing that 1 Swarmer isn't going to be that big a deal. Will he lose a second one this turn? We are going to see a 3-shot go off on that Swarmer in the center, that speeder moving back, and I think that walker is actually going to move up in the corner instead of opting to attack. That Swarmer will go down to that speeder, though. And the speeders moving by, and these speeders, like, this is the value of having those 2 assimilators up on the map, is that Phobos can kind of use those speeders to dart in, do damage, dart back, and heal the next turn, and continue to stall. And I think, like, every time that a heal goes down on one of those speeders, it buys Phobos a potential another round in the match. Once again, there's only 6 rounds left for uniKZ, but uniKZ now has full control of the center. He's managed to push Phobos all the way back to Phobos' side of the map. And now uniKZ in a position where he can really push his units forward, although he doesn't have a whole lot of lings up in the front. uniKZ, instead of being able to buy Swarmers or Swarmers or maybe another Pinzer, is going to have to use credits to continue to pump out new lings. There are buried lings up into the back center, so they actually might be able to use it, but I think uniKZ is kind of a little bit shorter on lings than he would like to be, although those Swarmers are going to be able to do considerable damage off on this line, weakening that mecha line in the back, making it so that next turn they could be very exposed. Getting rid of that mecha on top of that buried ling, and that buried ling is going to have the option to do a lot of damage next turn. The buried ling coming out now and bringing out the assimilator, and now the assimilator heal potential on those speeders is going to be decimated. So uniKZ doing a really good job on that assault, making sure that Phobos doesn't get a chance to catch his breath and do another and use those assimilators to get heals off on those speeders, and then suddenly have another just full shelf of full health speeders on the right hand side of the map. So I think uniKZ's done a really good job. He's finally managed to make his push, and the question is, did the push come too late? And this is what I was talking about, having that walker come out on turn 9 put uniKZ in a position where he had to delay his push. If that walker hadn't come out on turn 9, but it came out on turn 11 or turn 12, on like turn 10, turn 11, turn 12 instead of like turn 8, turn 9, then I think uniKZ's push, we see that uniKZ would be in a position like this, maybe a turn or 2 earlier, and it's uniKZ, he's got really great control of the board at this point, but does he have the ability to make base captures now? He's only got 5 turns to make 3 base captures, and I mean, the question is, how effectively can uniKZ use this position to undermine Phobos' defensive stance and get his lings into a position where they can capture those base captures and hold on to the bases? Sorry, Phobos now. Phobos using his Eclipse to get a 6-shot on another Swarmer. That Eclipse now, though, at a 6 and is going to be a lot less effective at doing aerial damage this turn, although it is right next to the Assimilator. The Assimilator might be able to make it so that the Eclipse can heal really quick. The Speeders now coming up and doing considerable damage to these Speeders, to these Swarmer lines here. That other Swarmer, is it going to go down this turn? I think it just might. That Mecha is going to bring down another Swarmer on the map. And he's pressing forward his advantage pretty well. I think we're going to see mostly mechas coming out from Phobos on this turn. Possibly Speeder. No, we are going to see all mechas come out. And now Phobos just in the position where as long as I can just pump out units and form like that sort of human shield, the more units I have on the map to delay uniKZ, the more turns I can push it up, and the more likely I am going to be able to delay this game past turn 18. uniKZ now bringing his worm up, eliminating that remaining speeder, although we do see a Ling here. I didn't even realize that Assimilator has taken one of the Lings and made a mechanized Ling out of that underling, and that is actually a huge disadvantage for uniKZ. He really needed that Ling up in that area to do damage and to threaten base captures, and now there's only 2 Lings in the center area, no, sorry, 3 Lings in the center area of the map that can threaten base captures, and I think, like, this is what I was talking about earlier. uniKZ, he can make more Lings, but it's going to take them more time to get in a position where they can threaten those bases. And there's only 4 turns left. I do like the position of that Worm. That Worm able to eliminate that Speeder and get the heal off. These Swarmers now moving up into the center, trying to dissolve this mecha line as quickly and efficiently as possible so that they can't delay any further turns against uniKZ's push here. uniKZ that last mecha is going to stay up from that Swarmer, and he is going to have to use his Ling to take I guess the Ling won't take any damage, but it won't get any forward positioning in taking out that mecha. Another 2-shot going against the Walker, and the Walker is going to go down this turn. The Walker has been eliminated, and now Phobos, if we look at his position here, he's got the potential to continue pressing his defense, but his line has been really decimated. I think having that mechanized Ling has really it will stall out uniKZ a little bit more than uniKZ would like to see. But uniKZ is in a position where he can really dissolve that line very quickly if he continues to press and just continue exchanging, and just get those bases open for those Lings. That's the question. Now, there's only 4 rounds left for uniKZ. So the question here remaining is how effectively can uniKZ push those Lings up into those base captures? The problem is he doesn't really have a lot of Lings left. He's only got 5. He does have 4 Lings, but 2 of the Lings are at health 3 and health 2. The other remaining are at health 5. So it's not very difficult for Phobos to turn around. And so even if uniKZ does get like a 5 or a 3 Ling on one of those bases to threaten a catcher, it's not really difficult for Phobos to kind of move in and eliminate those units before the base capture is held to the next turn. Moving on to uniKZ's turn here, he is going to get a Ling and a Swarmer on those back bases. He wants to continue pressing this advantage here, but we are going to see that mechanized Ling is going to take down another Swarmer on that center. A big 4-shot on that Swarmer. That was a really important Swarmer, and that Swarmer is going to go down to that Eclipse. And now uniKZ just not having the same amount of unit count in the center here. He does have Swarmers on the bottom, but he really needs to get them back up into the center where they can bunch up and really maximize their damage potential. But Phobos is running out of steam, but he is just continuing to pumping out those speeders and mecha combos, and those speeders and mechas are really going to delay uniKZ from getting that win. There's only 3 turns left for uniKZ to get this match underway. uniKZ been doing a very good job of making his push, but just not able to find that position where he can get that base capture quite effectively. This has been a fantastic game, by the way. I just want to mention that. Both players have just played so effectively. uniKZ really doing everything he can to maximize his damage, and Phobos being very well conscious of the amount of time management on this game, just delaying every turn possible. uniKZ now in a position where he's got all those Swarmers bunched up in the center. The remaining units for Phobos really can't do much against those 4, 5, 6 remaining Swarmers in the center and on the bottom. Just are going to be a little bit too much for what's remaining on the board for Phobos to deal with. And so I think uniKZ finally in a position, if we take a look at it, uniKZ has finally managed to finagle a position where, okay, now I can move that Ling up onto that top base at the of Phobos and threaten a base capture against him. These swarmers can take out anything that comes up on that base, so that Phobos really can't delay that base capture any longer. Phobos has maximized, I think, the amount of time he can delay base capture against uniKZ. The problem is that the amount of time that Phobos has already delayed has been up to 15 rounds, and so now uniKZ is kind of in a precarious position. Yes, now he can finally move those base captures, but he's only got 3 rounds to get 3 bases. That's a lot in a very little amount of time. So I don't know if uniKZ has the requisite amount of Lings to make those captures in just 3 turns. It's going to be a very difficult position for uniKZ to be in terms of time management. His position is fantastic. His time position is not quite on the same par. And we're going to see another mecha come up onto that base. I would have thought maybe a speeder might have been a better choice, although a mecha is not bad, but those swarmers can easily take out that mecha and open it up for that Ling to get in that base capture position. The speeder is now going to take 4 shots against these mecha, trying to open up the bottom base first, trying to I think we're going to see those 2 swarmers in the center go up against that 10 mecha in the base. No, not opting to go for that base just yet from uniKZ, instead going for a base capture on the bottom and wanting to weaken those mecha units at the top right so that they can't eliminate a capturing Ling. It's a pretty good decision by uniKZ there. The question is, can he press that advantage in time? We're on turn 16 here now. We're going to see a +4 heal go down on that speeder, and that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for uniKZ to hold on to a base catcher here. That mecha is going to do a big 5 shot against that swarmer, which will go down to the Eclipse on that turn. Another 4 shot going against that other swarmer in the center, and uniKZ is going to have to be careful. Is he going to be able to clear up that top right advantage? Looking at this, I know I've been pausing a lot, but I want to look at this positional play here from Phobos versus uniKZ. The thing is, uniKZ, he can clear that mecha off that top base there, and he could bring a Ling in to get the base capture. The problem is there's a speeder, a mecha, there's a speeder, 2 half-health mechas, a full-health mecha, and an Eclipse, all bunched up in that top right corner. And that makes it really, really difficult for uniKZ to get that forward base catcher and hold on to it. There's enough firepower for Phobos that even if uniKZ can clear up that spot and get the capture, Phobos can turn around and do enough damage to the capturing Ling that he can eliminate it and delay the base capture even further. So the question is, can uniKZ uniKZ is in a position where he has to clear up not only the base spot for capture, but also weaken those units bunched up in the right corner enough that they can't eliminate a capturing full health Ling on that base. He does have that 10 Ling on the forest tile ready to swoop in. He's got the Lings on the mountain and the forest, so the second that base is cleared up, those units can move forward and get the base capture. And in fact, one of those Lings can contribute against maybe that speeder or that Eclipse, where he can weaken those units enough where they might not be able to eliminate the capturing Ling. And the Walker might be able to do enough damage, but the real question here, there's only 1 turn left. So the real question here is, can uniKZ get that base capture next turn, hold on to it, and then take a second base capture on turn 18 and win the game? I'm not sure if he can do it or not. It could be possible, but the question, I don't know if he's got enough units to make it happen. So that we're going to see that Worm take a 5 shot on that unit in the base, and then that unit will go down. We are going to see uniKZ move forward, and is he going to get that base capture? That base capture is going to go down, and can these swarmers do enough damage to hold on to that base capture and open up that last base for a last capture? I don't know if it's going to work out that way. We're going to see that mecha go down, and I think that uniKZ's made it so that that base capture will hold to the next turn, but I don't see, unfortunately, uniKZ does not have a Ling that can make a capture on turn 18, and I think that's going to be the end of this tournament, and then that Ling is going to go down and not be able to hold on to the base capture, and that is going to push this game beyond turn 18, and I believe Phobos has done it. He will lose the match, but he will win the tournament by managing to stall this game out long enough beyond 18 rounds. And I just want to say, let's watch the remainder of the match, obviously, because uniKZ, he did play a really good game, and he deserves to at least have the remainder of his match observed. But that's going to be the end of this tournament here in terms of who's going to win and who's going to lose. We are going to see Phobos be the new champion. These Swarmers are going to be able to clear up the remainder of these units pretty quickly. We do see a Plasma Cannon come down, and that Plasma Cannon is just going to virtually guarantee that no way is that base capture going to happen on 18. And there are no Lings that can make base captures here, so I think this turn has been pushed up. Finally, that Plasma Cannon going to move down and eliminate another Swarmer, another Mecha coming up on that board. That Assimilator trying to move out of damage his way. And we're going to see two mechas come out, a second worm up on the board, and that second worm is going to do a great job of just basically cleaning up the rest of this map very, very quickly. That Eclipse will go down to that worm. We are going to see these Swarmers kind of do a quick mop-up job of the remainder of these units. These two mechas will go down very quickly this turn. First mecha going down. I believe that second mecha is going to go down this turn to that other Swarmer. Oh, the Swarmer instead opting to take out the Assimilator, capping the base. That's actually a really good move because it's gonna put Phobos in a position where he can't really heal quite as quickly once that Assimilator goes down. We don't uniKZ not wanting to do damage that's gonna be healed the next turn anyways. The mecha here gonna try and eliminate that Swarmer, but the Swarmer will stay capped on the base. A speeder coming out, but it's certainly not gonna be enough against the remaining forces here. And sorry about that call. Don't call that number. I'll blank it out on the video. I should have put it on airplane mode. These speeders now going to come up and eliminate that speeder on the base. The mecha going down. I think the Assimilator will also go down this turn. The speeder going down. The Assimilator is going to go down. Bases will all be capped, and I think that's going to be the end of this match. Oh no, we are going to see it go up into at least 21 turns because that one base, there is a plasma tank still on the map that can't go down just this turn, although the other base will be captured. The other base will be captured, and we see that plasma tank is going to go down on the turn, and that will be the end of this game. And so this was a really interesting match, and I've seen a lot of people talk recently on the chats about, well, ranked is the way to show who the best player is. Well, no, tournament is the best way to show who the best player are, and I think this is what you have to consider when you have arguments like this. You have to understand that tournament play versus ranked play doesn't mean one style is more difficult than the other. It means that one style of play versus the other is much more different, and that's a key element that players have to keep in mind. If Fobos had played during a ranked match, you wouldn't say, it would not be an effective winning strategy. I don't think, like, bringing out an early walker on turn 9, you'd never see Phobos try and pull a stunt like that when it was a standard rank match. You'd see the walker come out in response to the worm, but on a match like this, because time management has been such a much more crucial, critical factor to the element of play, the walker coming up early on turn 8, turn 9 was actually not a bad decision because it forces uniKZ to pull back, reposition himself, and then push forward, instead of being able to push forward immediately. And so it's kind of decision making like that kind of transforms the element of tournament play versus standard rank play. And I just want to let's take a look at that actually, because I think that was a really key early game decision by Phobos here. Yeah, on turn 7. Wow, even earlier than I thought. Yeah, a turn 7 walker, and then the next turn he brings that walker up onto that position right there in the center and gains all that center control, and it forces the pincer to move. It forces the pincer to move up. It forces the Lings to kind of bury a little bit earlier than maybe they want to, so that they can put pressure on it. And as you can see, like, uniKZ was doing a really good job of making that center push. All those Swarmers are right neatly behind the pincer. The worm is up. The worm is well defended against Swarmers, and the pincer's there on the point to defend against all the plasma tank and the speeders from doing too much aggro damage. But once that walker comes up, and especially after that walker is able to move up to that spot on turn 8, now uniKZ's like, well, I really wanted to push that center early so that I could get that because his push has to come earlier on this game than a standard push, by virtue of having to pull the win in 18 turns. And so by putting uniKZ in a position where it's like, I have to kind of pull back here and reposition my troops up to the northern flank instead of the center flank, that gave Fobos enough time to build up his troops just enough around that walker and kind of take enough control of the center that it stalled out uniKZ about 3 turns here. We look here, uniKZ kind of pulls back, and then Fobos makes his initial attack here, which uniKZ to uniKZ's credit, he does a really good job of countering that speeder attack on that turn 11, turn 10, where like uniKZ's retaliation against the speeder attack put him in the credit advantage. But the problem is that now he's kind of, once again, like his troops aren't really all centered in one attack position. And so again, he has to take another turn to reposition them up into the center. And now he's back in the center, and now he's regained his center control, but it's on turn 12 instead of turn 8. And an additional, considering this game was, 21 rounds to 18 rounds, an additional 4 rounds could have won this game for uniKZ. And so I think it's that stall out. Phobos found the way to stall for those extra 4 or 5 rounds, which was just all he needed to scrape by again with this win. This was a really, really, really close series of games here. And I think every round is of such critical significance that Phobos understood the value of playing for time instead of playing for power and position. And that's what really was the key element to making this tournament win. So, that's enough of my final thoughts on this game. We are going to see Fobos as the June Championship final winner. And so congratulations to Fobos. I think he really did earn that #1 spot on the championship board. I've seen a lot of players on the chat room say that Fobos is actually the #1 rated player in the game. Guys, first of all, stop being so obsessed with the rankings, for God's sake. Give Fobos the credit for being the June champion, and then let's see who wins the July champion, and then the September champion, and the August championship, and the October championship, and the September championship. The champion, the #1 champion of the game, isn't a title that's held by one guy and just says, oh, okay, I'm the person who's the champion of this game. A champion, a game champion by definition is a continually revolving defense. Whoever is the champion is going to always have people kind of creeping up on him saying, no, I want to be the #1 player. There isn't one person who's going to consistently be the #1 player. You have to keep that in mind. However, that being said, congratulations to Fobos. He played a fantastic series of games here against uniKZ. uniKZ, also, I want to congratulate you on taking the #2 slot. You played an amazing series of games. You really, both players really did just a phenomenal job of positionally setting up their units to try and optimize damage and to optimize time. I think that's what won Phobos this match. Wasn't his ability to have better positioning than uniKZ, but better time management skills. He was just a little bit better at pressing his advantage. Honestly, I said at the beginning of the series that the winner would be whoever most effectively played their crawl, but I would like to say this actually, really what won this game was Phobos just played slightly better in terms of being a delaying Titan force. So I should have thought of that a little bit more. It's really not just about who can do more effective fast damage as the crawl player, but who can do more effective defense as the Titan and delay the game longer. And Phobos managed to come out on top to that regard. And for that, I say congratulations. You've earned your championship. uniKZ, you really did a fantastic these players do on in the upcoming tournaments for the